Hello, my name is Yolanda, and I need to tell you about the most devastating betrayal I've ever experienced, and how I got the sweetest revenge imaginable. Picture this. You're 3 days away from your dream wedding. Everything is perfect, and then your supposed best friend destroys everything you've worked for. But here's the twist. She had no idea I knew her darkest secret, and her own wedding was just 2 months away. Before we embark on this incredible journey together, I have a small, heartfelt favor to ask. Please subscribe to my channel. Give this video a thumbs up. It costs you nothing but means the world to me. And let me know in the comments which beautiful corner of the world you're watching from. Your support truly makes all the difference. Now let me take you back to Denver, Colorado, where this whole mess started. I was working as a marketing coordinator at a tech startup, finally feeling like my life was falling into place. After 5 years with Marcus, we were ready to tie the knot in a beautiful ceremony at the Red Rocks Amphitheater. Yes, that Red Rocks. I'd saved every penny for 2 years to make this dream wedding happen. Bridget Walsh had been my maid of honor and supposedly my closest friend since college. We'd been through everything together: breakups, job losses, family drama. She was the first person I called when Marcus proposed, and she cried happy tears right alongside me. Or so I thought. The warning signs were subtle at first. Little comments about wedding expenses, how simple ceremonies were more meaningful, questioning whether I was making the right choice with the venue. I brushed it off as pre-wedding jitters affecting everyone, not just me. My custom wedding dress was a masterpiece, a vintage-inspired gown with intricate beadwork that took the seamstress 3 months to create. It cost more than my car, but it was perfect. Every girl dreams of that moment when she puts on the dress, and this was mine. 3 days before the wedding, I went for my final fitting. What I found there changed everything and set in motion a chain of events that would expose just how far someone would go to destroy another person's happiness. But karma? Karma had plans of her own, and I was just the messenger. The seamstress shop on Colfax Avenue had always been my sanctuary during the months of wedding planning. Mrs. Chen, the owner, treated every bride like her own daughter, and she'd been particularly invested in my dress. So when I walked in that Tuesday morning and saw her face, pale, distraught, wringing her hands, my stomach dropped. "Yolanda, honey," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "something terrible has happened." She led me to the back room where my dress hung, and at first glance it looked fine. Then she lifted the garment bag, and I saw it. Someone had taken scissors. No, not just any scissors, but fabric shears, and deliberately cut through the intricate beadwork along the bodice. Not a clean cut, not an accident, jagged, vicious cuts that destroyed months of handiwork. "Who did this?" I managed to choke out, though part of me already suspected. Mrs. Chen pulled out the security footage on her ancient computer. The timestamp showed yesterday, 2:47 p.m. A woman in a baseball cap and oversized sunglasses entered the shop. The angle wasn't perfect, but I could see enough. The height, the walk, the way she gestured with her hands when talking to Mrs. Chen. "Bridget." "She said she was your sister," Mrs. Chen explained, tears in her eyes. "Said you sent her to pick up the dress for safekeeping because of construction at your apartment building. She had your address, knew details about the wedding." I had no reason to doubt. My hands were shaking as I touched the damaged fabric. 3 months of work, destroyed. 2 years of saving, wasted. 3 days until my wedding, and no backup plan. But it wasn't just the dress. It was the betrayal that cut deeper than any scissors could. Bridget knew how much this dress meant to me. She'd been there when I first tried it on, had squeezed my hand when I started crying because it was so perfect. She'd helped me choose the beadwork pattern, had listened to me obsess over every detail. "Can you fix it?" I asked Mrs. Chen, though I already knew the answer. "Not in 3 days. Even if we worked around the clock, that beadwork, it's irreplaceable. I could make alterations to cover the damage, but it wouldn't be the same dress." I called Marcus from the parking lot, sobbing so hard he could barely understand me. He dropped everything at his construction site and met me at home within 30 minutes, still covered in sawdust and concern. "We'll figure this out," he said, holding me while I cried. "I don't care if you wear a garbage bag. You're still going to be the most beautiful bride in Colorado." But I cared. Every girl dreams of her perfect dress, and mine was destroyed by someone I trusted with my life. That evening, I made the hardest phone calls I'd ever made. My mom, who'd taken time off work specifically to see me in that dress. My grandmother, who'd gifted me the vintage pearl necklace that was designed to complement the beadwork. Each conversation broke my heart a little more. Then I called Bridget. "Oh my God, Yolanda!" she gasped when I told her what happened. "That's terrible. Who would do such a thing?" Her performance was flawless. The shock, the outrage, the immediate offers to help find a replacement dress. If I hadn't seen that security footage, I might have believed her completely. Instead, I listened to every word, taking notes on her lies. "I'll call every bridal shop in Denver tomorrow," she promised. "We'll find you something beautiful. Don't worry." After hanging up, I sat in my living room staring at the wall. Marcus was making dinner, trying to keep things normal, but nothing felt normal anymore. My maid of honor had sabotaged my wedding, and she was going to pretend to help me fix it. But I had something she didn't know I had: information and time. The next morning, I did something that would change everything. I called in sick to work and drove straight to Bridget's neighborhood in Capitol Hill. Not to confront her. I wasn't ready for that yet. I needed to understand why my best friend had become my worst enemy. Bridget lived in a trendy Victorian duplex she'd been renovating with her fiancé, Trevor. She'd always been proud of their relationship, constantly posting Instagram stories about their adventures, their shared goals, their perfect life together. They were planning their own wedding for September, just 2 months after mine. I parked across the street and waited. I felt like a stalker, but I needed answers. At 10:30 a.m., Trevor left for work. He was some kind of financial advisor downtown. Bridget's car remained in the driveway. She worked remotely as a graphic designer, which had always made me slightly envious of her flexible schedule. Around noon, something interesting happened. A silver BMW pulled up, and a man got out. Not Trevor. This guy was taller, darker hair, wearing an expensive suit. He walked up to Bridget's door like he belonged there. She answered wearing a silk robe. They kissed. Not a friendly peck, not a casual greeting. The kind of kiss that made me look away and then immediately look back, because what I was seeing didn't make sense. I sat there for 2 hours. The man left at 2:15 p.m., and Bridget walked him to his car, still in that robe, touching his arm, laughing at something he said. After he drove away, she stood on her porch for a long moment, looking up and down the street. For a split second, I thought she saw me, but she went back inside. My best friend was having an affair. That evening, Marcus found me on our couch with my laptop, surrounded by tissues and the remnants of a pint of Ben & Jerry's. "Any luck with dress shopping?" he asked gently. I'd completely forgotten about looking for a replacement dress. Instead, I'd spent the afternoon doing something far more interesting: research. "Marcus, sit down. I need to tell you something crazy." I explained about the security footage, about Bridget's performance on the phone, about what I'd witnessed that morning. Marcus listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each detail. "That's messed up, Yolanda. But why would she destroy your dress? It doesn't make sense." That's when I showed him what I'd found during my afternoon of investigative work. Social media is a wonderful thing when you know how to use it. The man in the BMW had touched Bridget's car door handle. From my position across the street, I'd managed to get a partial license plate number. A little creative searching on Instagram, cross-referencing with Bridget's followers, and I'd found him. James Morrison, 34, divorced, worked at the same financial firm as Trevor. In fact, according to LinkedIn, he was Trevor's supervisor. "Holy shit," Marcus breathed, scrolling through the photos I'd compiled. "This guy is Trevor's boss?" "Gets better. Look at the dates on these posts." I'd gone back months in both their Instagram accounts. The signs were there if you knew what to look for. James at the same restaurants Bridget had posted about, but never in the same photos. Similar hiking locations on the same weekends. Even the same gym membership. Bridget had posted a mirror selfie that accidentally showed James in the background. This has been going on for at least 6 months, I realized out loud. Right around the time she got engaged to Trevor. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. So why destroy your dress? What does your wedding have to do with her affair? That's when the pieces started falling into place. Bridget had always been competitive, but it was usually friendly competition. Who got the better job? Who had the nicer apartment? Who looked better in photos? But recently, the competition had felt different. Meaner. My wedding was beautiful. Pinterest perfect. The kind of celebration she'd always said she wanted for herself. And here she was, planning her own wedding to a man she was cheating on, while I was about to marry my soulmate in a dream ceremony. Maybe destroying my perfect dress was her way of making sure I couldn't have something she couldn't have. A wedding day without secrets, without guilt, without lies. The day before my wedding, I made a decision that would have consequences I couldn't fully anticipate. Instead of scrambling for a last-minute dress or wearing something borrowed, I chose to get married in a simple white sundress I'd bought months earlier for the rehearsal dinner. "Are you sure?" my mom asked when I showed her. We were in the bridal suite at the hotel near Red Rocks, and she looked heartbroken. "It's perfect, Mom. Simple, honest, real." I meant it. Standing there in that $15 Target dress, I felt more like myself than I had in the elaborate gown that was now beyond repair. The wedding was everything I'd dreamed of, despite, or maybe because of, the drama. Red Rocks at sunset, with Denver's skyline twinkling in the distance. Marcus cried when he saw me walking down the aisle, and honestly, seeing his face made every minute of stress worthwhile. Bridget played her role perfectly. She held my bouquet during the ceremony, fluffed my simple dress for photos, and gave a maid of honor speech that had everyone in tears. If you didn't know she'd sabotaged my original dress, you'd think she was the perfect friend. "Yolanda has always been the strongest person I know," she said, raising her champagne glass. "She faces every challenge with grace and determination. Today, watching her marry Marcus, I'm reminded that true love always finds a way to shine through any obstacle." The irony was almost too much to bear. During the reception, while everyone else was dancing to the live band I'd splurged on, I found Bridget outside on the venue's terrace, checking her phone. "Great party," she said, not looking up. "You really pulled everything together after the dress situation." "Yeah, funny how things work out," I replied, settling into the chair next to her. She was texting someone, James, I assumed. Even at my wedding, she couldn't focus on anything but her secret relationship. "Bridget, can I ask you something?" "Sure," she said, still typing. "Do you ever feel guilty about anything? Like, ever wish you could take back something you've done?" That got her attention. She looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Surprise? Fear? For just a moment, I thought she might confess everything. "Everyone has regrets, Yolanda, but you can't change the past, right? You just have to move forward and hope everything works out." "Right. Hope everything works out." We sat in silence for a few minutes, watching the last light fade behind the red rock formations. Inside, the party continued without us. Marcus was probably wondering where I was, but I needed this moment. I needed to look at Bridget and try to understand how someone I'd loved like a sister could betray me so completely. "Your wedding is in September, right?" I asked. "September 15th. Trevor's been so stressed about the planning, but it'll be perfect. We've got everything under control." "I'm sure it will be beautiful. You deserve a perfect day." She looked at me sharply, trying to read my tone. But I kept my expression neutral, friendly. Just a bride making conversation with her maid of honor on her wedding night. "Yolanda, about the dress—" "Don't," I interrupted. "Tonight's not about the dress. Tonight's about celebrating love and friendship and all the good things in life." She nodded, looking almost relieved. "You're right. Tonight's about celebrating." The next morning, Marcus and I left for our honeymoon in Maui. 2 weeks of beach time, snorkeling, and trying not to think about wedding drama. It was exactly what I needed to clear my head and plan my next move, because I wasn't done with Bridget Walsh, not even close. While lying on Wailea Beach, watching the sunset paint the sky in impossible colors, I made a decision. Bridget's wedding was in 6 weeks. 6 weeks to gather evidence, make plans, and ensure that her perfect day included a dose of truth she wasn't expecting. Coming back from honeymoon was like stepping into a completely different world. Marcus and I had spent 2 weeks in paradise, and now we were back to reality. A reality where I had a cheating maid of honor to deal with and a wedding to attend in 5 weeks. The first thing I did was resume my surveillance, but smarter this time. Instead of sitting in my car like an amateur stalker, I recruited help. My cousin Jamie worked as a server at Mercantile Dining and Provision, one of downtown Denver's most popular restaurants. It was also, according to James Morrison's Instagram check-ins, his favorite spot for lunch meetings. "You want me to spy on your friend?" Jamie asked when I explained the situation over coffee. "I want you to keep your eyes open," I corrected. "Just let me know if you see anything interesting." Within a week, Jamie hit the jackpot. She texted me a photo that made my blood boil. Bridget and James holding hands across a corner table, completely absorbed in each other. But what really got to me was what Bridget was wearing, a white sundress almost identical to the one I'd worn at my wedding. The audacity was breathtaking. That same evening, I got a call from Bridget. "Yolanda! How was the honeymoon? I saw Marcus's photos on Instagram. Maui looked incredible." "It was perfect," I said, watching her Instagram story from the restaurant. She'd posted a photo of her dessert, carefully cropped to avoid showing James across the table. "How are wedding plans going?" "Oh, the usual stress. Trevor's been working so much overtime lately, poor guy. His boss has him on this huge project that's consuming his life. We barely see each other anymore." Trevor's boss, the same boss she was having an affair with. That's tough. Wedding planning is stressful enough without work getting in the way. Exactly. I keep telling him that some things are more important than impressing your supervisor, but he won't listen. He's convinced this project will make his career. I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing at the irony. Trevor was working overtime to impress the man who was sleeping with his fiancée. "Well, I'm sure things will calm down after the wedding," I managed. "I hope so." "Oh, I have exciting news. Remember how upset I was about not finding the perfect wedding dress? Well, I finally found one, and it's absolutely stunning. It's vintage-inspired with this incredible beadwork, very similar to your original dress, actually. The seamstress says it's the most beautiful gown she's ever created." My blood ran cold. "What seamstress?" "Oh, just someone I found online. Very exclusive, very expensive. But you only get married once, right?" After hanging up, I called Mrs. Chen immediately. "Yolanda, how lovely to hear from you. How was the honeymoon?" "Mrs. Chen, I need to ask you something important. Has anyone else come in asking about a dress like mine? Someone claiming to know me?" There was a long pause. "That's strange you should ask. Yes, about 2 weeks ago, a young woman came in with photos of your dress. She wanted an exact replica, said you'd recommended me. I didn't think much of it at the time." "Let me guess. Tall, blonde, very specific about wanting the same beadwork pattern?" "That's her. She was quite insistent about every detail being identical. I told her I couldn't make an exact copy. It wouldn't be ethical. But I could create something similar. She agreed and paid a rush fee for completion by September 1st. "Mrs. Chen, that woman destroyed my dress. She's been lying to you." The silence on the other end was deafening. When Mrs. Chen finally spoke, her voice was shaking with anger. She destroyed your beautiful dress and then came to me for a replacement?" "I'm afraid so, and I think I know why." That night, I made a decision that would set everything in motion for Bridget's wedding day. I called Trevor's office. "Morrison Financial Services, this is Trevor Walsh." "Trevor, hi, this is Yolanda Martinez, Bridget's friend. We met at the engagement party. Oh, hey, Yolanda, how are you? How was the wedding? Bridget said it was beautiful. It was wonderful, thank you. Listen, I have a strange question. Is your boss named James Morrison? Trevor's silence on the other end of the phone told me everything I needed to know. Why do you ask about Mr. Morrison? He finally said, his voice careful, guarded. I think we need to talk in person, Trevor. There's something you need to know about Bridget. What do you mean? Is she okay? The concern in his voice broke my heart. Trevor was a good guy, quiet, hardworking, completely devoted to Bridget. I'd watched him worship the ground she walked on for 3 years. This conversation was going to destroy him, but he deserved the truth. We met the next day at a coffee shop in Lodo, far from both their neighborhoods. Trevor looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, his usually neat appearance disheveled. He'd been working those long hours Bridget mentioned, trying to impress a boss who was betraying him in the worst possible way. Trevor, what I'm about to show you is going to hurt. Are you prepared for that? He nodded, though his hands were shaking slightly as he reached for his coffee cup. I'd prepared a folder, photos, screenshots, timeline evidence. I laid it out methodically, like presenting a case to a jury. The restaurant photos, the Instagram analysis, the license plate research, even the security footage from Mrs. Chen's shop. She destroyed your wedding dress? Was his first question after seeing everything. That's what you focus on? Not the affair? I mean, yes, the affair is Christ, Yolanda, but she destroyed your dress and then lied to everyone about it. That's just cruel. Trevor stared at the photos for a long time. His engagement ring caught the light, a simple band he'd saved for months to afford. Bridget had posted hundreds of photos of her elaborate engagement ring, but I'd noticed Trevor never showed his off. How long have you known? He asked quietly. I suspected after the dress incident, confirmed it about 3 weeks ago. I'm sorry, Trevor. I know this isn't easy to hear. 3 weeks? He laughed bitterly. I've been killing myself at work, trying to get promoted, thinking if I could just impress Mr. Morrison enough to get that senior analyst position, I could give Bridget the life she deserves. The honeymoon she wants, the house with the big kitchen, all of it. She doesn't deserve you, Trevor. No, I guess she doesn't. He closed the folder and looked directly at me. So what now? You want me to call off the wedding? Confront her? What's your endgame here, Yolanda? That was the question I'd been wrestling with for weeks. What did I want? Revenge? Justice? Just the satisfaction of exposing her lies? I want her to face consequences for what she's done. Not just to you, but to me, to everyone she's been lying to. She destroyed my wedding dress out of jealousy and spite, then played the perfect friend at my wedding. She's living a double life, and everyone deserves to know who she really is. And you want to expose her at the wedding? It wasn't a question. Trevor had always been sharp. It's probably why Morrison kept giving him extra projects, keeping him busy and distracted while he stole his fiancée. The thought had crossed my mind. Trevor was quiet for several minutes, staring out the window at the downtown traffic. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, harder. If you're going to do this, I want to help. Trevor, you don't have to. Yes, I do. She's made a fool of me for months, maybe longer. She destroyed your dress, your wedding, out of petty jealousy. And Morrison, he's been giving me extra work to keep me out of the way while he sleeps with my fiancé. They both need to face consequences. Are you sure? Once we do this, there's no going back. I'm sure. Besides, he said, managing a grim smile, I've got insider information about Morrison that might be useful. Turns out, he's not just cheating on his wife with Bridget. This isn't his first office affair, and the company has a very strict morality clause in their employment contracts. Now, we were getting somewhere. The next 3 weeks were like preparing for a military operation. Trevor and I met twice a week, always at different locations, always careful not to be seen together. He'd become a completely different person since learning about Bridget's betrayal. Focused, determined, and surprisingly devious. "I've been documenting everything," he told me during one of our meetings at a Starbucks in Highlands. "Morrison's been using company credit cards for their hotel rooms. He's been scheduling fake business trips that align perfectly with Bridget's girl weekends. And get this, he's been paying for her dress alterations through the company expense account, listed as client entertainment." "That's fraud," I said, impressed despite myself. "That's just the beginning. I've been copying files before I leave work each day. Email records, expense reports, even security footage from the office building showing them leaving together. HR is going to have a field day with this." I had my own evidence-gathering operation running. Jamie was still reporting from the restaurant, and I'd recruited my neighbor's teenage daughter, Sophia, who worked part-time at the gym where James and Bridget had been meeting. The kid was a natural detective. She'd even overheard them planning a weekend getaway to Vail that was supposed to happen the week after the wedding. "They're not even trying to be discreet anymore," Sophia told me, showing me a photo she'd secretly taken of them in the gym's parking lot. "They were making out against his car like teenagers." But the most damaging evidence came from an unexpected source: Bridget herself. She'd started confiding in me about her pre-wedding anxiety, which apparently included detailed complaints about Trevor's work schedule and her growing feelings for someone else, though she was careful never to name James directly. "I love Trevor, I do," she told me over lunch at Union Station. "But lately, I've been wondering if we're really right for each other. There's this other guy, someone who really understands me, someone who makes me feel alive." "That's cold feet," I said, playing the supportive friend. "Everyone questions their relationship before the wedding. Did you? With Marcus?" "Never. Not once." That seemed to deflate her. "I keep thinking about your wedding, how simple and genuine it was, even without the fancy dress. You and Marcus just looked so sure, so happy." "We are happy. We're honest with each other." "Right. Honest." She looked away, guilt flickering across her face. "Yolanda, can I ask you something? If you found out someone you cared about was making a huge mistake, would you tell them, even if it would hurt them?" For a moment, I thought she was going to confess everything. Instead, she just shook her head and changed the subject to wedding favors. 2 days before the wedding, Trevor called me with the final piece of our puzzle. "She's planning to leave me," he said without preamble. "After the honeymoon. She's been looking at apartments, even put a deposit down on a place in Cherry Creek. Morrison's wife filed for divorce last week. Apparently, she's known about his affairs for months and finally had enough. Bridget thinks they're going to ride off into the sunset together." "How do you know all this?" "I hired a private investigator 3 days ago. Best money I've ever spent. Turns out Morrison's been promising to leave his wife for Bridget, but he's also been saying the same thing to at least 2 other women. The PI has photos, recorded conversations, financial records. This guy is a serial cheater who preys on women at his company." I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and pity. Bridget had destroyed my wedding dress out of jealousy, but she was about to lose everything for a man who would never be faithful to her. "So what's the plan for tomorrow?" Trevor asked. We'd decided to wait until after the ceremony, but before the reception dinner. Right after the official photos, when everyone would be gathered for cocktail hour. Maximum audience, maximum impact. "You handle Morrison, I'll handle Bridget, and then we let the chips fall where they may." "Any regrets?" Trevor asked. I thought about my destroyed wedding dress, about Bridget's lies, about Trevor's broken trust. None. Bridget's wedding day dawned crisp and clear, the kind of perfect September morning that makes you believe in fairy tales. The ceremony was at the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs, an hour drive from Denver, but worth it for the stunning mountain backdrop and luxury accommodations. I arrived early, ostensibly to help Bridget get ready, but really to observe the final act of her deception. She looked beautiful in her replica of my destroyed dress. Though Mrs. Chen had been right, it wasn't quite the same. The beadwork was similar, but lacked the intricate detail of the original. Still, Bridget glowed with bridal happiness, completely oblivious to what was coming. "Yolanda, thank God you're here," she said, pulling me into the bridal suite. "I'm so nervous I can barely think straight." "Pre-wedding jitters," I assured her, helping her into the dress. "Completely normal." "Is it normal to feel like you're making the biggest mistake of your life?" I paused, my hands on the dress's tiny buttons. "Are you having second thoughts about Trevor?" "Not about Trevor exactly, just about marriage, about commitment, about whether I'm ready to give up my freedom." Freedom, as if cheating on your fiancé with his married boss was somehow liberating. "Marriage is about choosing the same person every day," I said carefully. "Even when it's hard, even when there are temptations." She met my eyes in the mirror. "You make it sound so simple." "It is simple. Not easy, but simple." Downstairs, Trevor was getting ready with his groomsmen in a separate suite. I'd texted him earlier. "Everything on schedule?" His response was just a thumbs-up emoji, but I could picture his nervous energy, his determination to see this through. The ceremony was beautiful, I had to admit. The Broadmoor's outdoor pavilion overlooked Cheyenne Lake, with the Rocky Mountains rising majestically in the distance. 200 guests, including Morrison and his soon-to-be ex-wife, who'd apparently decided to attend despite everything. The irony was perfect. Bridget's vows were elaborate and flowery, full of promises about eternal love and unwavering faithfulness. Trevor's were simpler, but seemed more genuine, though I caught him glancing at Morrison during his speech about trust and honesty. After the ceremony, during cocktail hour on the terrace, I found Trevor near the bar. He looked calm, almost serene. "Ready?" I asked. "Been ready for weeks, you?" I nodded, though my heart was racing. We'd planned this moment carefully, but execution was always different from planning. The signal came when the wedding coordinator announced that dinner would be served in 15 minutes. Perfect timing. Everyone was gathered, relaxed from cocktails, expecting nothing but celebration. Trevor walked to the center of the terrace and tapped his champagne glass with a knife. "Excuse me, everyone. Before we head into dinner, I'd like to make a toast." The crowd quieted, smiling expectantly. Bridget beamed from her position near the lake, beautiful in her stolen dress design. "Marriage is about many things," Trevor began, his voice carrying clearly across the terrace. "Love, commitment, trust, honesty. Today, I want to toast to honesty above all else, because without honesty, nothing else matters." I saw the exact moment Bridget realized something was wrong. Her smile faltered, and she glanced around nervously. "I want to thank everyone for being here to witness what should have been the happiest day of my life," Trevor continued. "Instead, it's become the day I learned the truth about the people I trusted most." Now the crowd was murmuring, confused. Morrison had gone pale, his wife watching him with sharp interest. "You see, I recently discovered that my bride has been having an affair with my boss, James Morrison, for at least 6 months. They've been using company funds to pay for hotel rooms, fake business trips, and even alterations to my wife's wedding dress." The terrace erupted, gasps, shouting, the crash of someone dropping their champagne glass. Bridget stood frozen, her bouquet falling from nerveless fingers. But I wasn't done yet. I stepped forward, my own voice cutting through the chaos. "And that's not all. Bridget Walsh destroyed my wedding dress 3 days before my ceremony because she was jealous of my happiness. She cut it to pieces with scissors, then lied to everyone about it." The silence that followed was deafening. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Morrison's wife slapped him in front of 200 witnesses before storming off with her lawyer, who happened to be among the guests. Morrison himself was fired within 48 hours once Trevor's evidence reached the company's board of directors. Bridget tried damage control, claiming the affair was emotional, not physical, that she'd called it off weeks ago, that everyone was misunderstanding the situation. But the evidence was overwhelming, and the audience was unsympathetic. Most of the guests had known me for years. They remembered my destroyed dress, my simple wedding, the grace I'd shown under pressure. The wedding reception continued without the bride and groom. Trevor bought drinks for everyone and gave the most honest speech I've ever heard about learning to value yourself and surround yourself with people who deserve your trust. 6 months later, Trevor got that promotion he'd been working toward, Morrison's old job, actually. He started dating someone from his hiking group, a teacher named Rebecca who thinks his honesty is his most attractive quality. Bridget moved to Seattle for a fresh start. Morrison followed her there, but according to mutual friends, he was cheating within 2 months. Some people never learn. As for me, I kept that $15 Target dress and wear it every year on our anniversary. Marcus says it's the most beautiful dress he's ever seen because I was happy when I wore it. The revenge was sweet, but the real victory was learning to value honesty over perfection, substance over appearances, and genuine friendship over convenient relationships. Sometimes, karma needs a little help finding its target, and I was happy to provide directions. What would you have done in my situation? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories about life's unexpected plot twists.